Hey, everybody. Welcome to Second Sunday, my monthly live broadcast. I am Jessica Alstrom, and I am streaming live on YouTube today, and hopefully we're making our way to Facebook. If we aren't in Facebook jail at this point, who knows? I thought that this month would be a really good opportunity for us to not just go into the 411 of what is happening energetically, but to utilize Second Sunday as an opportunity for us to unpack a couple of things that we're all collectively experiencing, as well as digging through our toolbox at really what we have to work with right now, because that's really what and where we are. We are at this very pivotal time of our own ascension process, self-realization, right? Journey home, journey to self-love, whatever you want to call it, where we are really kind of having to look at our dirty laundry, but also at our most profound collection of favorites, and looking at how far we've come and how far we have left to go, and what that means for each individual one of us. And interesting, being in the United States, we are kind of like lifting the issue of COVID, and it's not really lifting. It's just, I think more people are doing the vaccination route. So I think that especially being in the kind of middle of the country, we're not wearing masks. We're free to go everywhere and do everything. I mean, some people are walking around in masks, but if you've noticed right now, no matter where you are on the planet, it's a very distinct separation. You're noticing this, right? There's not like that wishy-washy energy. It's like those that are still in fear and those that are just, have joined the rebellion, whether they're afraid or not. They're literally in the rebellion, right? And rebellion equals what? Resistance. Resistance is the chaos theory. We are all probably dealing with a nice, healthy box of our own chaos, which is kind of the accumulation of all of the things that we have resisted and pushed away, and all of the things that we are ready to really dive into and create for ourselves. We are kind of like June. So we got that kind of Gemini energy. We're going to be moving into the Leo energy. And interesting being in Gemini, my Saturn return, we've got the eclipse energy. We got, Mercury retrograde. So it's almost like, mom is like turning her head, like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this mess, right? And we're like, So really interesting place for all of us, because although the world is going topsy-turvy and it's very clearly being separated, we are able to see, I think, for the very first time, the truth. We have more of that mountaintop perspective of who and what we are, and what we are going to continue to allow, and what we are really here to do. And I think that when people ask me, what's my purpose, or, why am I here? Your purpose is joy. I wish it was cooler than that. I wish it was sexier than that. But, when you cross over to threshold of a new time space continuum, you're not going to be like, wow, I wrote a best-selling book. Your moments are going to be defined as how much joy did I have in my awareness today? How much fun did I have? How much love did I truly get to experience, and how much love was I really able to give? These are the things that we will take with us in these new spaces that we move through, and we are indoctrinated to believe that it is what we do that creates our value. And that could not be further from the truth when you're looking at yourself from all that you are. It is not what you do that creates your value. It is who you are. It is what you are being. It is what you are demonstrating, right? And the happiness and joy that radiates you from when you are very, very much allowed to be yourself, when you are not looking at yourself through other people's eyes to determine your value or your worth or your beauty or your abundance. You're not feeling trapped and stuck by your life experiences and your obligations and your commitments. Love no longer means pain. Love no longer means judgment. These are the moments that we came to create, okay? And what I want to really kind of dig in this month about, because we're so moving into this topsy-turvy energy of like being able to see ourselves from that kind of Gemini perspective of a face-off, and then moving into, who do we choose to be as a leader in that? We are not here to be perfect. We are here to be perfectly imperfect, right? We are here to be allowed to play. We are here to be allowed to shine. We are here to be allowed to feel. We are here to be allowed to choose differently. We are here to see things the way we choose to see things. And as we kind of get sick and tired of playing the game, we notice ourselves going into, one direction or another. We either go into fear to examine that and play in that for a little bit longer, or we move into the rebellion that I still might be afraid or worried, but this is wrong. And then we might even move further past that and say, you know what, the purpose of my life is joy. And so I'm going to focus on my paper. I'm going to focus on what I can do to create joy and put that into the collective, right? Because what we see is usually what we believe from a conscious analytical space is what is. But we know as creators, right? We know as beings that work with law of attraction to create our own reality, that we're not here to see outside of ourselves to create our destiny or to create our reality. We are here to see, and then from an observer's perspective, choose, do I like what I see? Do I not like what I see? I don't like what I see. I think I'll go internally and ask myself, why am I seeing and feeling what I'm feeling? Why am I looking at this? Why am I giving this so much power and energy? Oh, I found a trauma. Let's go into that pattern, right? And it's usually right here in that fifth chakra, where it is between the coherence of your brain or your mind and the ultimate cosmic connection to your heart space, which is the true I am of just divinity and no time, no space, no color, no separation, just pure love, right? And when that energy gets really stuck in that fifth chakra, right? Powerful number 5 is where everything gets very complicated and confused. And we're moving energy through that fifth chakra right now to open up that pathway so that the mind and the heart can actually get on the same team. How can we notice this in our own reality to kind of help us move out of the conversations about what you're seeing? How can you move out of the story of what you're seeing? And how can you stand back from your mountaintop that you have worked so hard to get to and look at the things differently, and then make a educated choice from your heart, right? Not from your pain, not from your trauma, not from your memories, but from your heart. Make a new choice and then act as if, right? Sounds easy, right? Well, I mean, I've been teaching this stuff for years, and I know it's difficult for all of us to walk our talk. But knowing that, we also have a new set of awareness within us that we've worked so hard to create, which means that you might be acting out a sabotaging experience and you're witnessing it like, what am I doing? This is so weird. Or you're witnessing the need to trigger someone else to assist them in their own awakening. And you're saying, what am I doing here? So it's a very weird experience. Like, you're in the dream, you're acting in the dream, but you're also watching the dream. You see how we are getting closer into our integration point. It's like, woo, crazy. I can't help myself right now. I'm sabotaging, but I'm watching myself do it. And I know that that's not what I want anymore. But my body is literally acting out the character that it believes that it is, because it's repeated this pattern so many times that it is an autopilot subconscious program now that does not require my personal attention to be, which means your brain is making decisions about all that you have been and where you are and what you're doing and who's around and what it can smell and what it can see and what it can feel to determine who you are 20 minutes before you act it out. Okay? Now, if you are not present, you, the one who's seeing yourself do those things, the observer of the self, then you'll just inherently 90% of the day still be living on autopilot, even though you're studying the work, you're doing the work in your meditation spaces, but your body is still kind of in that autopilot zone. This is why your life doesn't change no matter how educated you get in the spiritual space or the scientific space. Life only changes when you are moving your behavior into the direction of choice versus autopilot. Now, if your mind is making up the decision of who you are 20 minutes before you enter the scene, then that means 10 minutes before the brain sends the signal through hormones, muscle contractions, and remembrance of memories to get the body ready to act out the next scene. Now, this is just like an actor reading a script. And behind the veil, it as I break it down, it sounds like we have a lot of time here. We don't. We have like, an eighth of a second before this all transpires, which means 20 minutes before your mind is determining where you are to tell you who you are. And then your brain sends the signal down into the biological system. Hey guys, we're still here at mom's house, and oh yeah, okay, who are we at mom's house? Great. Let's cue the emotions. Let's cue the feelings. Okay, let's bring out the resistance because we know that mom triggers us. So we move into a state of fight or flight that feels like chill, numbness, right? We take necessary action to survive the moment. We go autopilot and we act it out. We've been doing this pretty much our whole lives to survive. Well, the game has shifted. As soon as we entered into the fifth dimension, we now had a choice. Do we want to play the game of suffering, or do we want to play the game of thrive, survive versus thrive? Well, it requires that acting out in a program, the witness of the program, to come together and be like, hey, I know you're a ghost acting out in my best interest, but you're ghosting what I really want. And what I really want is to not act this out anymore, right? And all of a sudden you feel that ting in your throat, like, oh, contraction. No, I must complete the circular pattern. And the spirit says, no, I must create the spiral. Boop, 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 time, space. What are you using your greatest currency for right now? Your time, your space. This is how you can close the gap between what you're watching yourself do versus who's watching, and utilize time and space to make a new choice. Okay. So I just finished a really powerful, very short, super cheap light language activation where we used sound to break up these patterns in your biological field, right? Matter can change when the frequency changes. You are matter. You're holding on to these dense stories of who you've been forever. And not only that, you have those 4 realms of consciousness, right? You have your super consciousness, which is your I am, your higher self, your spirit, whatever you want to call it, right? And then you have your conscious self, which is the you that you think you are, right? Hi, I'm Jess. I got 4 kids. I'm a loony, crazy guy. I work all over the world teaching people about quantum physics. That's who I believe I am, right? And then there's that subconscious. Sub means under, right? Below. And that is all that you have been. Memories, traumas, failures, victories, right? All encoded into your body's biography. Okay, your cellular memory, your muscle memory, all that you have been at a as we're getting lower into our consciousness, super consciousness, who I believe I am, right? My subconscious, who I have been, my unconscious. Okay, unconscious, your 4th realm of density is lineage, bloodline, ancestors, genetics. Okay, so not is it all about me and my memories, but everything that's connected to me from any shred of DNA in the cosmos and in density. Whew, that's a lot to manage. Okay, it's a lot to be aware of. So what we usually do is we don't. We focus on what someone else is doing, right? Let's focus on your 4 stages of consciousness. Let's focus on the collective stages of consciousness. Let's look at the government's consciousness. Let's look at everything else while we are still having these 4 very, very profound frequencies emanating from all levels of our field. So as we make that journey back in and begin to witness ourselves acting, we get to witness others acting in our movie. We get to witness ourselves acting in other people's movies. We move into the 5 number of dimensional space of I am choice. Very, very powerful place. So if I am in this space of choice to decide who I am or what I am or how I feel or what I can create or the what I see versus what I see, right? Then I can use time and space as my pause button. Boop. Pause the game, pause the movie, take a breath, get back to that 0 point energy and say, okay, so this is what my body thinks I am, right? This is what my story thinks I am. This is what I have been. And based on what I'm seeing, what do I choose to do? What do I choose to be? What do I choose to think, right? And it's not about spiritual bypassing. We're not jumping to the next scene because we don't like the old one. We're using the old scene as a reference point to find out where we are in resistance of our own alignment. Where are we in resistance? Okay, if I was going to give you the best definition of resistance, what I would say is that you are an energy flow. Your energy is always, always, always wanting to move, no matter what. And energy doesn't die, it changes forms, which means that your energy will go wherever it can fit. Now, if I am an energy, right, and I am connected to all the other energy that there is, then when I break my flow or my current, or I bend the hose so the water is not flowing and it starts to back up and pressurize, we call that I'm stuck, or we call that I feel blocked, or I feel like nothing's happening in my reality, right? That is the equivalent of someone in your field, which is you, one of those 4 conscious levels, bending the hose to say, we can't let this energy go, right? We got to stop. We got to look around, because where's that water shooting, right? It's shooting over there, and we want it to shoot over there. Because you know that once that fire hose starts to move and it is facing the wrong direction, you're not going to like where it's going. So you want to put it over there towards the fire, or over there towards the dirty wall so you can clean it off. But it's all over the place, right? Because it is not centered, it's not grounded, it's not stabilized, it doesn't have consistency. You're not being loyal to yourself, right? So the water's everywhere. And therefore you're going, I better bend this so I can take a pause. So you actually think that the universe is stucking you, or sticking you, or trapping you, or holding you hostage in a situation. But really what is happening from your 4 levels of consciousness is one part of yourself is saying, hold on a second. This isn't where we want things to be going here. We're just all over the place, and we've got to refocus. So the only way, because this hose is so heavy and out of control, is to stop the flow. This would be called resistance. Now, resistance usually comes from trauma, pain, or that kind of shock value, that blindsided energy, humiliation, guilt, resentment. This is usually where we say, let's take a pause, let's stop, which is actually a very healthy frequency. We're not using the word no, I'm not allowed. We're using the word stop, pause, let's take a breath here. Okay, what am I resisting? Right? What am I resisting that is causing my reality to kick back a reflection that things are not moving in the direction of where I want them to go? What is my reality showing me as a kickback reflection of, how I am secretly treating myself somewhere, right? So we can use this time and space, this pause, this resistance as a flow, instead of using resistance as a form of a jail cell. Because all you are is focused consciousness. That's it. Very unique. I'm not minimizing your greatness, but we are all focused consciousness, desiring a unique experience out of our chosen limitations and our chosen toolbox of greatness, which means that we literally chose limitations to work through, and we chose, strengths and gifts that would help us overcome our own chosen limitations. Really, the script has always been a one-man show. But how boring, right? We want to kind of reflect off of different places and people so that we can get a kickback of how we're acting, right? Has anyone ever said, whoa, buddy, your tone? And you're like, what tone? You're like, your tone. You're like, I don't have a tone. I hear a tone, right? And what is a tone? A tone is frequency, right? What is the opposite of light language, right? the language of the shadow, right? The passive aggressive tone, the humiliated tone, the shame tone, the guilt tone, right? The angry tone, the grief tone, sound, frequency, information. Okay, so let's emanate here. Let's emanate what these frequencies are that are coming out of you that you might not be aware of. Let's do the resentment tone, right? I got to do everything around here. Nobody sees all these dirty dishes in the sink. Right? Okay. Resentment tone. How does it feel when someone gives you the resentment tone? Not good. What do? You lock your energy up. You fold your hose. Right? This is a frequency. Okay. What is the guilty tone? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'm so sorry I'm late. Oh my gosh, how can I make it up to you? Let me fix this. Let me do something for you. Let me give you all my money. Let me give you all my time. Let me give you everything. That would be the guilt tone, the shame tone, right? No one loves me. I'm just worthless. I feel horrible about myself, right? The shame tone. Okay. Humiliated tone is usually more about defending, right? No, I didn't do that. I didn't say that. I don't look like that. I don't feel like that, right? And then we move up and up and up. And when we get into the grief tone, we begin to let go, don't we? When you guys move into the grief tone, you're no longer speaking. You're no longer defending. You're no longer getting the other version of you in a reflected point of a projection to acknowledge how you feel at this point. You are in a state of surrender. This is when the hose goes. And what is a hose? Fire hose of water, tears, grief. You're emptying yourself. You guys have to realize is that if we're going to move through the fifth dimension and jump into the super fun era of the superhero, which is the sixth dimension of the shapeshifter, right, is the biological compound where you create your own destiny, vibrations, and hormones based in your intentions of the I am. Super cool. We have got to let the hose rip in the direction of where we need to allow ourselves to flow energy. If we cannot get on the other side of grief as a collective species, we will never return to true love, because love and grief are like a coin, heads and tails. And as a human understands, you really do not ever feel unconditional love without also experiencing the underbelly of grief, of loss that is attached to that. And what we have done as a species is we have remained in these lower tones to suppress and bypass grief, to protect our hearts, to protect ourselves, to build walls, to bend hoses, and we have no recollection of doing this. So we're saying, where is he? Where's my soulmate, right? Why do I keep getting these twin flames that destroy me? And, where is any of my playmates? And where's the money? And why doesn't God love me? And I'm doing God's work here. And, and all these questions that we have when the light is shining on the frequencies of I'm bending my own hose because I'm not in alignment with what I am aligning up or getting in line with the stories of the collective that I am focusing on. And this is why my life feels bittersweet, where I am capable, but yet incapable. I am loved, but unloved. I am seen, but not seen. I am heard, but not understood, right? So this is the separation that we're noticing at a huge perspective of the collective right now. You're either in masks and afraid, or you're free spirit, right? And so this is what it's going to take, because these shades of shadow that we've been living in as a collective of false light and the era of the guru and giving our power away and looking at reality to determine our worth and looking at the mirror to understand ourselves is moving away, because the ultimate face-off between the fear-based you, the lower conscious, underdeveloped, undervalued, unloved version of yourself, lost in density, and the super consciousness are on the same playing field for the very first time in history. Take a breath. This is amazing. We have arrived. The ultimate face-off. I'm looking at the most fearful parts of myself, and the most fearful parts of myself are looking back at the fearless part of myself. And I advise you to begin to walk towards each other because you're on the same level for the first time in history. And who is assisting with you in this? The universe, Earth. She is moving into her stage of remembering, her expansion, moving into allowing us to move about the cabin in 5 different dimensions, accessing different perspectives and choice. So let's look at that number 5. We got 4 realms of consciousness. Well, what's the 5? The observer. Who's observing? How is this all working together, right? 5 fingers, 5 toes. Have you ever really thought about that? Really? And understanding 2 eyes, right? One perspective, the other's perspective, harmony of choice. Okay? Looking at this as an understanding of that you are not being attacked. You are not being judged. You are not being unloved. You are being the frequency of someone who feels unloved. You are being the frequency of someone who is hiding pain, so therefore must attract it. You are being the opposite of what you are. So when we start to turn and look at ourselves, the parts that we have disregarded, disassociated from, trapped in the jail cell, moved down into the basement because we didn't like that version of ourselves. We didn't feel safe. We didn't feel loved. And we have literally pushed that version of ourselves away, created a new version of ourselves that will go and get love at no cost, make $1 million to prove worth, get in the best shape of your life, to feel good in the mirror, to study, because that makes us feel alive. It makes us feel smart. It makes us feel like we're getting closer to the prize. And all while we're being haunted by, the version of ourselves we left behind. So the year of 2021, right, is the year of reconciliation. It is when you sit with your own baggage and you open it, and inside of this baggage, you see all of your valuable, loved, jewelry and trinkets that you found on your journey, and your pictures and your beautiful character sequences of clothes and grooming products, right? And then you look over there and your dirty underwear are there, right? Ooh, bad day over there, right? And the things that were stolen from the bag, right? And the extra things that the airport put in there, right? And then there's a big fat note that says, hey, we went through your baggage and you feel very violated. Hey, what the heck? Right? And this is the best metaphor of 2021, because everything that you guys keep manifesting, all of us, is returning to this baggage, sitting you down in the chair and saying, you're not leaving this table until this bag is unpacked. This bag is everything you're resisting and everything you have to utilize to feel empowered by what you're seeing that you don't like about yourself. Your limits and your potential are all in this box. What do you do? Right? Hello, you go throw the dirty underwear in the wash. That's not who I am anymore. My stomach doesn't hurt anymore, right? And then we're like, hey, let's display who we have become on this journey, so that we may empty this bag, so that we may go on our next trip. The longer you avoid your baggage, the more it's going to pop up in people, places, and things around you, right? Because you think that you're pushing your baggage down, and then you're sliding it under the rug, and then all of a sudden, it's like, someone's got something from your bag over there. Hey, is this yours? You're like, no, it's not mine, right? You're like, hey, is this yours? Hey, is this yours? No, that's not mine, right? And this is what's going to happen, because the more you shut the box, the more people are going to pop up, thanks to Mercury retrograde, right? It's like, go away. No, all of your resistance needs to be projected if you are not looking at your own box here, your own baggage. And the way that we can get to the next journey is to have an empty space. Infinite possibilities. All that we are, all that we have been, and everything we've cleaned up about ourselves that was dirty. So we don't have to hide the dirty in an embedded frequency of unworthiness and shame and guilt, and then use the tone to communicate to others that we secretly feel shame and guilt. We do not have to demonstrate our shame and guilt and unworthiness in our relationships and actions, and we no longer have to hide. Because really, when I'm looking at the worst parts of myself and the best parts of myself, I'm pretty cool because I've come a long way and I didn't know what I didn't know. And when I was lost, I was really lost. And when I was found, I was really found. And I am in appreciation, right? And I am paying attention. See all these abundance words to the me that could really use a good washing, right? Like the dirty underwear faced off, right? With the clean new sweater that you bought is looking at each other like, hey, we're both allowed here. Let's just clean each other up through the memories of the future self, looking at you through memories, and the past version of you that is holding on to accountability of wrongs versus right to feel safe in its own density point. This is our arrival and our mediation point of the fifth dimension. So as we rendezvous with the year of reconciliation, we will move into 2022, which is a catch-22. I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. So what do I do? This is where you will be next year, probably about next June. You will be in this face-off with yourself. I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. So what do you choose? I choose to do. Right? Because we have learned that love is pain in the third dimension. So when I choose self-love, somehow it hurts someone else, right? When I choose self-focus, it somehow triggers someone else. So I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. So we have to get to a center point where we are getting closer to our fractal selves, moving our dense version of our unconsciousness into superconsciousness to blend the worlds so that we may evolve from all that we are. If you look at the idea of the making of a superhero, there's always a backstory, right? Joker falls into the pit of toxic waste, but what happens, right? All that darkness and pain that he felt now is supersized because, right, the pain that he's experienced now has a power point to it, right? And if we move into our empowerment stage, we will be in the state of creating some sort of environment that gives us the superpowers to embody the human DNA to activate its truest potential, which means we won't be using 10% of our brain. We will be using 100% of the brain. So as the light on the planet gets brighter, the dark on the planet gets darker. Separation, right? Joker. He was an unloved child, right? Now he's taking it out on the world through in crazy power, right? Then we've got Superman. How did Superman get super? How? And why is it kryptonite that makes him weak? And how come he can go to the sun to plug back in? Oh, because he's quantum, right? And so these stories of the superheroes that have been channeled through time, true stories, are told through the perspective of evolution. All of the metaphors of our own superhero stories come from the quantum revolution that is happening through enlightenment of consciousness of the 4 integration stages of consciousness moving back into the one, which means that Superman, Spider-Man, all became empowered through what? Their story. Which means that can I really be Superman if I cannot find the densest parts of myself? Would I really want to save the planet if I didn't lose my own? Because Superman came to this planet and wanted to save the world because he lost his world. He lost his mom. He lost his dad. So he wanted to use his power to save the world. So if I'm super consciousness, right, all embodied, can look, see, do, fly, whatever, and then I'm just there. What's my motive, right? If you've ever been an actor, okay, but what's my motive? Why would I want to save the world? Well, this version, superconsciousness, yeah, life is meaningless. Superconsciousness, it is what it is. Superconsciousness, all is complete. Superconsciousness, what's my motive? In order for me to act in demonstration, I require a motive. Boom, my unconscious self. Which is my motivating factor? Oh, okay. Now, the meaning of the story of pain, of love, of losing, of loss, of suffering, now tells the story of all that it has lived through to super consciousness, which is absolutely meaningless threads of love and divine energy. Says, ooh, I like it. Something to use the power of self through. So, as the dense part of you and the super consciousness rendezvous, in harmony, you've got a motive and a backstory. Welcome to your superhero adventure. Now, understand that those that are acting in superhero rhythm, like Mr. Glass or Joker or whoever else, are acting out what appears to be a superhuman way of being is actually untrue. Because the superconscious you is unbreakable, right? It's unlimited. It's pure positive potential, which means just says go plug back into the sun, right? But the darker versions of the self, right, are a little bit more unbulletproof than they appear. But the bullying and the army behind them and the pockets full of cash and the people they've paid off and the minds that they've indoctrinated and the brainwashing that has occurred through frequency of tone makes us believe that the darker superhero villains of the planet have as much power as the empowered superconscious self that got the backstory from unconscious, healed together to become the superhero. It's not the same. Let's look at this. Just shall we? Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, right? Okay. Darth Vader, he got a big old planet, huge army, tons of cash, right? All the coolest technologies, the best planes in the world, right? Has to wear a suit to exist, right? Cannot just use the Force the way that Luke can in his busted up vehicle with his renegade misfit friends from all places of the universe. Don't you think that's the story we're playing out here? Do we really need fancy technology to defeat the darkness? No. We have to walk towards ourselves, heal the parts of ourselves that are trapped in density, that feel unloved, feel unseen, feel unheard, feel attacked, feel judged, integrate them in through our own awareness, choices, changes, belief systems, and behavior through the work that you're doing, because you're all doing the work, and then act it out. So as we close the gap, we return to self, right? See, when we start to walk towards ourselves, we become our soul's mate, right? So 2 perspectives here, 2 perspectives here, walk together, right? 2 + 2 = 4, 4 levels of consciousness. The I am is looking and reflecting. Now we are a complete one hand, right? So now I become my right hand. I become my soul's mate. I become one frequency that law of attraction can listen to instead of 4, right? Law of attraction is like, okay, I hear the frequency of your lineage. I hear the frequency of your conscious thoughts. I hear the conscious of your superconscious thoughts. I hear the conscious of your subconscious memories and pain. Here's your reality. And you're like, wait, this is a buffet of a lot of things I don't like and some things I do. This isn't what I want. It's not good enough. And the universe is like, well, then be better, not bitter. Allow yourself to walk in the direction of self. See all negative reflections as your own resistance of moving away from the self. Thank you, person, for triggering me. You've just showed me where I need to walk closer to myself. Thank you for not loving me. This is where I need to walk closer to love towards myself. Thank you for not being there for me. I will walk closer so that I may see myself and be there for myself. Everything in your reality right now is triggering you in so that you may join self. Join self, coolest backstory in the world. Spider-Man gets bit by a spider, super cool. What's your backstory? You weren't loved, you weren't hurt, you were abused, you were misunderstood, you were devalued. You've got a cool backstory guaranteed to emanate superconsciousness meaningless. Like everything is meaningless. You must give superconscious meaning in order for it to act out. Because as a being of light, all you are ever doing is you are destroying or creating. Ever. And destruction is a form of creation, and creation is a form of destruction. So there is absolutely no dark and light except the way it's being demonstrated. So with that, you want to look at what am I resisting? Where am I giving the power of the reflection of you instead of the map back to me? Choice. Where am I allowing your paper to be more important than my paper? Where am I allowing this emptiness or void in my frequency of abundance and freedom to stop me? Where am I allowing this resistance? And what direction do I actually need to look for the solution? Because the solution isn't in, another loan so that you can buy the next course to make you feel closer to home. It is not getting on the phone and venting to your sister about who hurt you. It is not, going unconscious with some sort of form of unconsciousness. It is not about, pushing down fractals of self so that you won't have to see or feel them. It isn't about jumping into the next relationship. It is about using everything vibrationally that is in your witness perspective of a reflection as a understanding of where self vibrates. Self vibrates where it is reflected, which means your current reality is a mixed bag of 4 levels of consciousness, which means this is your way to see yourself, right? Through the eyes of choice, the eyes of observer, the eyes of awareness, the eyes of love, instead of the eyes of the mind. Right? I knew you were going to do this. See, I could prove that no one's there for me. You're going to get caught up in that story and you're going to leave yourself behind. Then guess what? As many of us say, I'm not giving up on myself. I love myself no matter what. I'm going to do the work towards myself. I'm going to empower self. I am going to become the best version of self. Boom, shape-shifting, DNA, all the way into the 12s, which means that now I'm a fully operational vehicle and I may be in the Iron Man suit if I choose, or this suit over there. This is the kingdom of the hybrid energy. This is the frequency where things that were impossible before become possible, right? Think about it. I am possible, impossible. So we move into the next stage of our own evolution, but we must be self-aware and integrate self in. We must take full responsibility, the ability to respond to our own reflections, move into integration. And guess what? The people who are blaming their sister and mother and brother and God for all of the pain in the world, guess what they're going to need, guys? They're going to need a superhero. And they're going to be sending the bat signal up, and they're going to be calling 911, and they're going to be, Superman, where are you? So which part of this story would you like to be the observer of? Because it's all a game. It's all make-believe anyways. And now you're starting to truly see it because you're watching yourself act out your script. The script is coming from the body. So, if you've ever watched a teleprompter, your body is literally reading the teleprompter of your memories and stories to dictate back to who you are. You are not as much of who you think you are as you are demonstrating. You are about 90% autopilot of what you have been. And what have you been? Well, anything you needed to be to stay safe and loved and accepted. So all of those things are actually just fake. So who are we really? We're a big hot mess right now, and that's okay and perfect. We are completely uncertain. We are, looking at a very dirty bag of laundry. We are in the crisis point. We are losing everything. We are kicked out of our own homes. We are breaking up with people. We are, being visited by our past right now. We are literally facing our baggage. Take a breath. So if you are going through any of that stuff, you are exactly perfect for where you need to be. You have arrived. So how do we get closer to ourselves? Look for your own resistance. Look for the tones, right? Look for the tones that you speak to people in, and look for the tones that people are speaking to you in, because you will find your secret vibration through the tone of other people and your tone back. Now, if you have access to your superconscious voice with your light language, you may begin to speak to self and body and field in your own soul language. And if we're not speaking it, because this is basically where we're clogged right now, because this is where ego circulates the old patterns, says, no, brain, heart, no, you cannot move together, because what will I be? right? Game over. And it isn't about game over. It is about moving ego's very important role of protector into personal assistant, guardian, and manager with a beautiful agenda instead of a sabotaging agenda. And we must do that through tone. Okay? Tone. You don't know what you're vibrating? Listen to how you speak to people. You don't hear yourself, record yourself, right? Listen to how you talk to certain people. Listen to how certain people talk to you. This will help you discover your own resistance, right? If you're being passive aggressive to someone, what does that mean? That you're actually very much hurt. And you don't want them to know you're hurt because it would disempower you and it would cause you to feel small. So how you feel big is you use passive aggression, right? So there are no bad guys and good guys because let's just face it, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader was his daddy, all right? So in the story, it's all love. And it took them to move all the way back to each other through a big battle, right? Dark meets lights to integrate. So welcome to Star Wars 4.0, right? And welcome to the fifth dimension. Use it wisely. 5 fingers, right? 5 different perspective points for you to plug into so that your hose isn't going all over the place and you keep having to bend it because you're embarrassed, right? Stop bending your hose. Because if I break a point of electricity in my house, that lamp won't work, but the toaster will. Right? If I break a circuit over there, that part of my house will not be illuminated, but this part will. Which part of your house needs to be checked your breakers? Right? Where are you stopping the flow of energy because of lower vibrational memories, traumas, or patterns? How do you find them? Watch your behavior. You're on autopilot 90% of your day. See how much time you're spending in a negative scenario. See how much time, right, you are talking about what you don't want to see. Look at how you feel about self around people. Look at and observe who and what you're being when it comes to what you want. Are you a being that's like, I get what I want. It's just a matter of time. I'm going to go play. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to give back. I'm going to be in gratitude and appreciation. Or are you, God, I really need this to work out. And oh my God, I really need this to work. And who do I need to call? And can I call another psychic? And is my manifestation here yet? Like, look at those 2 creative I am points, right? One is working on destruction because it's waiting, anticipating, and needing. And one is knowing, allowing, and flowing. All right? It's not arrogance, it's awareness. What is the super consciousness? I am. I am all that I am. Give me a backstory. Give me a motivational factor to act my life out. All right? I can't save the world if I don't have a reason, right? But I cannot save the world from my super conscious point because the vibration is too low here in this game sequence. And my lower consciousness cannot save the world by rescuing everybody because its density is too low and it is on a battery operated power of need, which means it cannot plug into source energy and flow. It cannot go to the sun to reconcile its kryptonite, which is fear. What is fear? Anticipation of loss. So what are we really afraid of? We're afraid of losing. What are we afraid of losing? Our minds, ourselves, our senses, each other. We've already lost it. We're walking back together. And sometimes it requires us to lose our reflective viewpoints so that we will start paying attention to this. If you're losing someone who you've been giving all of your energy to, it's a requirement. Because if I'm giving you all of my energy, I cannot walk back to myself. So higher self, superconscious, even ego will say, let's get rid of this person. Let's throw her into grief. Let's throw her into pain because she's going to be able to see herself more clearly. She will be able to dry her own tears. She will be able to hold herself. And there is no way back to self if you're not paying attention except pain or pressure. If you're paying attention, right? You'll be like, oh, I see a shadow. I'm just going to keep walking, right? I'm just going to keep walking in the direction of what I'm seeing versus being pushed. So June, right? Here we are, smack in the middle of the 5, smack in the middle of the frequency of change and chaos theory. We are using time and space to take a breath and back up and look at our story from a different perspective, to take into account that we are not just one version of ourselves, that we are many layers, and all of those layers need to be recovered, reconciled, and brought back into integration for us to be able to vibrate at the highest points of our own awareness. The enlightenment merely means lighten up. So here we are, June. What's coming for July? If you're here in the United States, this is when we take back our freedom, man. So hopefully you're going to do your work this month, and we can go party next month, right? We can actually begin to take our freedom back by becoming whole, right? Soul's mate. Okay, this is why you're all getting ghosted. Where's my investor that was here 2 weeks ago? Where's this person who said they loved me? If you're still getting ghosted, you're ghosting yourself. Which part of yourself? The part that you're in most resistance of. Okay, that is my 2 cents, right, for June. Hopefully you got a little nugget out of it. Hope is where you are and how you're feeling. If not, throw it away. Who cares? I'm just a crazy girl. Otherwise, I am always live in my community, Quantum Revolution, on Facebook. We have been on world tours and had to break up that for COVID, but we are looking at getting all of those things back rolling. So we're bringing quantum technology as the biggest form of revenge to your state, your country, to teach you how and what your true superpowers are through your own abilities to use quantum healing from different methods, from the body and from outside of you, tactile, tangible technologies, right? So it's all here, right? Your lightsaber is arriving. So where are you in your story? Where are we? What are we going to do, right? Are we going to be star seeds? Are we going to be star blooms, guys? Are we going to bloom, or are we going to hide in the manure and complain about how shitty things are because we're afraid to shine our light? Because what happens if my very vulnerable bloom begins to go through the surface and get mowed? What happens? That's what we feel is going to happen. What if I put myself out there? What if I make a podcast? What if I get mowed over? What if someone picks me because I'm so fragile? Guarantee it's going to happen. But guess what? You're a seed, and you're going to grow back. And each time you grow back, you remember getting cut, and you remember how strong you are. So each time you grow back, the fibers of your skin and your body and your field come back more resilient, more aware, more invincible. You had to get cut down many, many times in order to become invincible. Your heart is not ever breaking to the point where it shatters. It breaks to the point where you realize, I am unbreakable. So let's do this, guys. Let's join forces, but first with self, and let's begin our journey into our next box, or our next story, chapter, book, whatever you want to call it, of the 6th dimension, because this is what we really came for. Those of you who feel lonely or want to leave this ghetto planet, this is what you have been waiting for, right? And we don't need it to really get as dark, right, as some of the superhero stories tell. But even if it does, game on, right? We are here to create the most magnificent story we possibly can through all levels of our consciousness. You are not a victim. You are not alone. You are allowed to be everything that you came to be if you are willing to go and love the parts of yourself that you have pushed away because they weren't allowed, right? All right, that's all. I will see you all very, very soon. If you are looking for coaching help at all, I do a teacher training program. It's very intense. I go very, very, very deep into all of these layers of consciousness, and we're in the process of group unpacking. If you're ready for that, reach out to me on my website, jessicaalstrom.com. If you're looking for more of a slow rip of your Band-Aid, you can always join my subscription group. I do a crazy live question answer. All things are allowed. There's thousands of hours of content, workshops, and trainings in there. If you want to just, jump into one of my workshops, I've got dozens of them from all levels of consciousness. And if you just want to creep, Just find me on Facebook and stalk away, but do not take your eyes off of your own paper. My job is just to bring your eyes back to you, to be the mirror for you, to help you with the blind spots of you, not ever to make you me, because I got enough going on here. I want your eyes on your own paper, right? So that you may create the joy that you came here to create. All right, you did not come here to be mediocre. You came here to be magnificent. So don't let yourself die as a seed. Become the bloom that gets mowed 60 times and then develops thorns, right? Smells good, highest frequency of an oil, the rose, thorns. Don't mess with me, right? Pretty cool. All right, see you all very soon.